So I was explaining something about the anchor tag. We haven't covered much. We just introduced the HTML boilerplate and a few HTML tags like the paragraph, uh, like a paragraph, and then we talked about the anchor tag, and then the different headers from H1 to H5. And I was explaining now about I was explaining about this section on the links and navigation, and I was talking about the anchor tag, which is denoted by the A. And then with attributes for href, where you input the URL for the resource you want to access, and target, you include the target and set it to blank when you want it to open into a new page. And also this for security reasons, the no opener, no referrer. And then we're also talking about the different paths that or the different URLs that we have. And URL stands for Universal Resource Locator. So you will find me maybe sometimes referring to the link you input here as a resource. We are talking about the absolute path. This is where you put the actual link or actual the actual link to a website or a particular resource that you want to access. Because I'm referring to it as a resource because it could be a resource in your local machine or a website that you want to access. We also have a relative URL. This is mostly used when you're working with content in your page or content in the same folder during development. We'll look at them when creating some multi-page applications. And then we also have an in-page anchor tag, and we denote them with the hash, though in CSS you'll notice that the hash symbol is used as a query selector for an ID, for selecting an element by ID, but we'll talk about them when we come to CSS. Let me run this code and then we see the output. When I click on this link, let me close this one. When I click on this link, so let me run it. When I click on this link, you will notice it will open on a blank page on top here, and it has opened the KamandeDevHub platform because of the URL we passed in as this new page, because we had this attribute for target blank. And what if we edit it and see? So when we click on this, okay, yeah, it also opens on a new tab. Okay, for the about, it will open the lost thing with that it's being refreshed. Click on the, okay, I don't know why it's misbehaving, but we'll write them in the browser, in the VS Code and see. Don't trust the browser, sana. And I also wanted to show you how or where we majorly use these links before we talk about the navigation part. I'd mentioned that we'll use the anchor tag mostly for clickable links, and I was giving an example of the navbar here. All these are anchor tags or clickable links formatted in buttons. All of these are clickable links in buttons, and we use them we use the anchor tag alongside another element which I haven't talked about, which is a list. I'll talk about a list and then talk about the navbar. So we have two types of lists in HTML. We have ordered lists and unordered list. So for ordered list, we denote them using the OL, like that, an abbreviation for ordered lists. And example, that is the OL, and then we pass in the children elements like the list itself now. I hope you're still following. Let's say it's a recipe for what? I don't know how to cook much, but we can say just a recipe for boiling rice. So step number one is boiling. Oh, okay. So let's say measure 3 glasses of water. Just creating an ordered list. Someone to tell me the steps of making rice. I don't know how to put that in writing. After boiling 3 glasses of water, add salt and what? Cooking oil. And then after that, you can add, that is a glass of cleaned rice. And then maybe it boils until it simmers. So when I run that, you'll see it will be displayed in an ordered list. Add the first one, but this was formatted as a. Let's correct that. You can see an ordered list comes in like that. It's numbered, but we have an unordered list which is denoted by the unordered list abbreviation. Like that, and we can just let's say this is just names of people present today. To that, you pass in the lists as children. You can see the unordered list comes in with this default styling of the disks, but you can change the styling as you want. You can input different elements like the tick or whatever. And yeah, so those are the two types of lists that we have, but we normally use the unordered lists to create navbars. But before I go to that, I also want to introduce another element before I talk about that. In the next like a few minutes, let me introduce tables. I hope we are still together and you're getting the concept of the lists. We have the two, ordered and unordered list. Million, if you're in a position to respond, you can just respond.
Yeah, everything is okay.
Yeah, let me also introduce tables, though we rarely use them, but you may find some instances you're going to use them. Let's say, for example, when you're talking about or when you're working on projects to do with student management systems, you need to display their marks, the different subjects that they have. You'll need to use tables, or maybe when you're working on an e-commerce platform and maybe you have receipts, you're generating receipts, you'll print them as tables, though they won't have the borders. And also maybe say like an admin dashboard of a certain platform, where you'll be displaying let's say it's the admin for a school, they need to access the student information. So you'll have a table with the student's name, email, address, and maybe the class or whatever information you have. So for the tables, we declare them with just as the name, so table. And then they have different children elements. We have a heading for the table, and then we also have the table will have rows and columns. So, and then we also have data for the different, we'll have data for the different columns. So we can have a table head or a table row. First, we define the different rows and the columns that it will have. We define a row using the tr element. And then in that, let's say we are talking about we are working on a student management platform. At this one, we're just going to store the name and email and maybe class or course. So you'll have a table head for the header. So let me just copy this and paste it. So we'll have, that is for the name, for the email, and maybe for class, or it could be for phone number. So we can have student name. And here I forgot, we can put in a caption. We put a caption. It's good to have this. So we can say it's students. Let's put a contact. And then to really caption. Oh, it's not appearing as I want it to be. Forgetting it. Putting the caption. Okay, I'll remember. Let's just proceed with these ones first. We rarely use the matter. I don't remember the caption. So we have the name, we have the email, and we have the class. So you can see the different rows are appearing here, and you can put in the border. Is it? You can put in the border for the different tables, and we give it an initial margin of 1. So and then after that we have our different columns. So to populate them, you'll be creating a row for each, and then you'll be inputting the different fields each using the TD attribute. We have TR, and then putting the different table data. Have 3 columns, so we'll have 3 for each. So you'll be, if you have like 3 students or 4, you'll be putting in the same, you'll be repeating this row for each and every student. So let me just copy that, and can just put this one if I input my name. And then okay, that one was for email. And then that one was for class. Let me just put in that. So you can see, like if you need to populate each and every student, will create a different row for them, and then you input their name. Okay. At least I know you're doing BCom. And okay. And then Milan, I forgot your course. It was let me guess. Okay, it might be wrong. But the idea is to get the concept of tables. I hope you're together on that.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's how we create the tables, and then when we come to styling, we'll talk about the different styles that we use. That was just an introduction to different elements that we have in HTML and the ones that we majorly use. And don't think I've left another one. Okay, let me I just want to introduce the concepts, and then when we come to actual coding, we'll do some few things. Let me finish this. I know time has gone past my time, but could you add me like the next 10 minutes? If that's okay.
It's okay from my end.
Okay, Felicitas, 10 more minutes, kindly.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So, let me touch on this. I've jumped something on here because I've not talked about some bits of styling. I don't want to touch on something that I've not touched so that it gets easy. Let me just talk on what's in here about images. and figure captions. So in websites, you'll interact with you'll have to present different content. We've looked at the textual content. You'll have image content, and you'll have video and audio content. Right. So for images, we'll use a figure as a parent element for an image, and then we'll use the img element with the attributes for src. We'll talk about them. I'll demonstrate, and an alternative that displays when your image is not loaded, and which is a very good thing to always include, because sometimes you might find maybe you're loading these images from the internet, and the internet is down, or your backend has crashed. So the alt is the one that will be displayed instead of totally not displaying anything. You also have, it's good to include a fig caption of what you are displaying. So for example, let me do this from the VS Code so that I can show you for the images and also videos and audios in those 10 minutes you've given me. I had some file here. So this is the boilerplate I had generated. I said you can generate it using Shift and letter 1, and then you click on that exclamation. So we are talking about the figure. The figure, we use it as a parent element for wrapping our images, and we access the images using the img attribute with the sorry, we pass in the img attribute, and then we pass the src. Here I had downloaded an image, like I had a few images. We have this one, audio1.png.jpg. I had renamed it badly, but we can access that. It's audio1.jpg. And then you can pass in some default styling. We can pass in the width. We can give it a width of around, we'll talk about the different units for, styling, and then we can have a height of also 300 pixels. Pixels, and then we have an alt. I said it's always good to include an alternative text. Have the alt. This was supposed to be a nature image. I renamed it incorrectly. If I'm not wrong. And then it's also good to also include a fig caption. And we can just say it's a nature image. So let's save that. And we'll run it using this play button on the VS Code. You can play, run and debug. So we click on run and debug. It's running. Then it has opened on the Google Chrome. But if you have not opened it for the first time, it will ask you where to open. You see, the URL for my page is not working, and it has displayed the nature. That is it has displayed what is this? It has displayed the alternative text. This is what I was talking about. It's always good to include this, and then the fig caption. So if we didn't have an alternative text, this is what could have displayed. Let me comment that out first. Let me refresh. You see, it just displays an empty space for the formatting of the image, but the image is not being displayed. Let's correct the path to this. So, see the intro. And then let's see the path to our image. This one. Okay, black. Let me correct the path to our image. We need to pass in the actual route. And it is the file. So we need to pass in the actual path, the indifferent routes. And we've not talked about the paths, but let me do this, but we'll talk about them later on. So it is this one is in the parent, and the other one is in a different route. So it is in the HTML folder, and it's the audio one. Yeah, that's the actual image. We'll talk about absolute and relative path, but now this is an example of an absolute path. And when we reload our site, now supposed to display the image of that monkey. I hope you can see that. That's about images. And let me just show you how we do a video, and then we end the class for today. It was just meant for an introductory on the HTML. So for an image, for a video, we also use the video element. Video element, and then we can pass in the default width. That's the way we did with our image, and then we can just put in the width of, let's just use 300 pixels, and the height of also 300. 300, and then you also have to pass this. You have to include the attributes for controls for each to give you the play buttons and then the speed, full screen controls. And then here you put in the source of your video. And so it's the actual path there. So that's it. This is just the actual path where my audio one is. And that's just how you embed a video in your website. And we could also do one for sound, and then we run it and then we close the class. So this one we use audio tag, just the same way we have for the video. And then you also have to pass in the controls attribute. And then in between that, you have to pass in your source. And then the SRC, you put the path to your audio. It's in the HTML, and then audio one. And you pass in the type, which is audio stroke MP3. Then close that for the source, and then let's run. So, okay, they'll just, when we talk about styling is when we'll now start styling our web pages. And I am sure the paths are wrong for the source. That's why you can see the actual time of the video and the audio is not being shown here, but the elements are being displayed. So let's correct that. Supposed to be, oh, this one is supposed to be the nature. Just copied the wrong thing. Nature.mp4, and this one is supposed to be audio 2. We didn't have audio 1. And when we run, let's refresh. So you can see we've embedded the videos, and then we have the controls. We have the full screen mode that is enabled by passing in the attribute for controls, and other settings for playback and in picture mode, etc. You also have the audio enabled, and can play your audio with the controls. So I hope you've gotten something for today, even though not much, because it's the first class, and it was supposed to be unstructured as it is. And because I thought fellows could have joined earlier and then introduce themselves. So today was about just introducing and maybe touching in a few concepts, but in the next lectures we'll start creating better pages and covering more. So I don't think I don't know whether there are any questions up to there.
Can we use caps
Yes,
by writing the codes?
we use
Caps ni like ikwe nini capital letter
you write capital letters when writing the code,
and when writing the heading, the
like
paragraph.
you write a capital P.
Yeah.
I don't think that's possible, and I'm not sure. But I think, yeah, actually you can. But now, no, we just talk, we do with standards that are there.
Okay.
That's why I wasn't sure, but we can do with caps. Actually, I wasn't sure. Let me write a paragraph in caps and see. But I think we just go with the standard. Just like the way when we come to HTML, you'll see like we use caps for SQL. No, not HTML. For SQL, we use caps. While writing the scripting code for the HTML, but for the others, we just go with the standards and maybe for readability and presentability or somehow. But we can do it. It's but yeah, you see, we can do it and it's displaying at the bottom.
Yeah.
But now when we come to other languages, like now when we come to programming languages, you'll see we have what we call case-sensitive languages.
Mm-hmm.
In such, when you define a variable using caps and you call it using small letters, they are two different things. We think for working with what's standard or what has been there, yeah, we prefer the the lowercase.
Okay.
Yeah, but for SQL, we'll be writing our queries with in caps. Then for the other because HTML is not actually a programming language; it's a markup language. So when we come to the programming language, you'll see we have case sensitivity, like when you declare a variable using a capital letter and then you declare the same variable using small letters. They are two different things, but we'll see them as we continue.